Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Salma Kazi Wahab and welcome to another edition of Along the Path, where we speak to such amazing individuals about their experiences, their journeys, all the amazing things that they do with their lives, the people they meet, and their own perspectives and how they attain closeness to Allah, peace and tranquility and fulfillment within as well. So your path then can be anything, any overcoming any obstacles, meeting certain individuals, and what it is that you do to get to where you ultimately need to be. Today, sharing her best-selling story, her own true story as well, is well-known author and teacher, no stranger to you, is Nasreen Variyawa. Welcome to the program. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Such a pleasure to have you here today, and you've probably done many of these sit-down conversations about your books, about your work. No?
Absolutely not. This is my first, and I'm so excited. Jazakallah for having me.
Look at that. Alhamdulillah. What an honor. One of the things that I saw and I read from you is something along the lines of, we're all born with a best-selling story within. I love that because I had a little joke with my cousins and when we were younger, and we used to say, imagine if our lives were a drama or a TV show. How would it be? Or this would be a dramatic ending. And I kind of thought of that when I read that. But why do you think it's so important to think of your life as a story? Maybe a chapter, I suppose.
Because Allah has sent us all down with a story. Every one of our stories are unique. And what we do with it is so important. We can while away and we can cry over what happens to us, or we can use it for the benefit of the ummah, for the benefit of communities. And that's what I mean by that when I wrote that. Because it's so true. As an author coach, having worked with so many people who come to me and say, we'd like to tell our story, it made me realize at some point that every one of us comes with that story. And when it happens to us, when it has happened to us, we can keep it to ourselves or we can choose to share it. And through sharing it, Salma, we can help people, because when they identify with your story or when they learn from your story, we help them build, don't we? We help them to overcome, don't we? And we help them to become better individuals. And that's what it's all about. I personally don't believe that anybody who has a story should keep it. I believe it should be shared. I believe that Muslims want to hear it, should hear it, and should learn from it, because we are at that point in the ummah where we need to build ourselves up, where we need to be heard, and we need to pass the message on.
Absolutely. And I also think what tends to happen is, like you're saying, there's so many that are maybe sitting with these very closed books, mind the play on that word, but so many have interesting stories that maybe get buried with them, and they never get to actually share, or maybe it comes out after they've passed on, so don't get to learn from them, like you say. What sort of stories do you think, or maybe if I were to say issues, or what topics you think aren't being spoken about enough, that maybe people are not opening up enough about?
I think it all depends on the communities we live in. We're brought up with this mindset that we need to be careful with how much we actually share and talk about, because what will people think of us, right? But here's the thing, things are happening to everybody. And if we are all going to think that way, nobody is going to grow, not us, not them. And that is why it is so important to talk about everything. I don't believe that anything is beyond speaking about, except that it should be done in a tasteful way, it should be done in a respectful way, and of course, as I always say, niyyah is very, very important. With what intention are you doing it? What parts of that story do you want to tell? Are you doing it to bring somebody down? Are you doing it to expose somebody? Or are you doing it with the genuine purpose of helping others in the same situation? So everything from older men to younger women marriages, everything from mindset, health issues, everything that happens behind closed doors, not because we need to air our dirty laundry, but because we need to tell others that, look, you're not alone. This does happen, and here's a way out for you. And that's what it's all about.
I love that you're not alone and here's a way out for you. Now, your move to Turkey, that's where you spent 10 years of your life. Now you recently returned. You're very much in the community circle, in different social groups, and with having a book as well, you have these regular book clubs and these book reading things. That I've seen that's a whole society in its own, people that are writers and so forth. But what prompted you to ultimately make that move to Turkey, and when was the author Nasreen born? Did she come about before, or were you sitting there in Turkey and got inspired to write there? What triggered you to actually start sharing?
The move to Turkey was actually just a very, very, it was freak, you know. I had just come back from a holiday there after a divorce, and I was in that frame of mind where I was looking for peace, I was looking for security, I was looking to do something different with my life, something meaningful. When something tragic happens to you, right, you're looking for a rebirth of some sort, you're looking for revival, you're looking for renewal, you're looking to find yourself again. And I thought to myself, well, here's a place that I could possibly do it in. And all I want is 1 year. 1 year to go away, maybe teach in a Turkish school, travel the country, and then I'll be back home. But then Turkey has this thing about it, doesn't it? Once it gets into your bloodstream, it's very difficult to leave. And so 1 year became 2, and 2 became 3, and 3 became 10. What did it do for me is that it did help me to renew. It helped me to grow. It helped me to discover that I could write. It was there that, I had a lot of time after teaching. I would sit at home, bored at night, or be out with my Turkish teacher friends. And I was offered a leadership program with an individual who's played a very big part in my life, Dr. Farooq Sensei. And he asked me, well, you're an English teacher, would you just edit my book? And I did. And he said to me, do you realize that you actually have a talent that you're not utilizing, and you need to explore that? And so I edited a couple books, free of charge, and I would just enjoy the process until I decided, well, this is something I can do. This is something I love. Let me explore it whilst I'm here. And I did. And so I've got at least 20 to 25 authors who I've helped publish.
Wow.
6 books of my own. And Tupurni would be my first fiction. So that's what it did for me. It helps you to grow. It helps you to see how other people live, how other people deal with their tragedies, how other people deal with life. And of course, there's those unique experiences. Harvesting olive trees, going off to the school gardens early in the morning, picking cucumbers and tomatoes and delivering it to the school kitchen for breakfast. So many unique opportunities and unique people to meet. I've taught with international teachers who've all taught me different things. And I think that is the most beautiful gift anybody can ever give themselves when they are in that frame of mind. Because being away from those who know you, being away from the public eye, being away from criticism, being away from the watchful eye of what is she going to do next, is very daunting for someone who's just experienced something traumatic. Being away from it all helps you to come into your own, to discover the talents that you never knew you had, to tap into areas in your life that you never knew existed, to do new things, and to become a whole new person, if I can put it that way. The old you is always there, but you're adding dimensions that nobody sees. On the quiet, in your own space, it's you and Allah alone.
Oh my goodness, I think we could have just recorded that part alone. That sums up the entire episode. That is so beautifully put. There we are, packing our bags, getting ready for our own journey of self-discovery. On the other side of this, we chat more to Nasreen about her own personal experiences and what led her into writing these fiction and somewhat non-fiction. How much of a true story are these books and her work that she did, and more about Nasreen straight after this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Salma Kazi Wahab, and welcome back to Along the Path. With us today is Nasreen Variyawa, taking us on a journey of self-discovery, rediscovering yourself. And before we start packing our bags for our journey of self-discovery, which you've got me thinking a lot about, and something that just came to mind as well in your answer just before the break is how you have to remove yourself from the situation, from a society that is there, ready to question your next move, that's watching you very closely, especially our family members, perhaps extended family members. Like you said, you're coming out of a divorce at that point. But then you have so many people, so many women these days that are discovering these big life changes in their 40s, early 50s. And you could possibly say, is this too late to maybe be changing the course of your life? And you look at 20-year-olds and you almost want to shake them and say, this is what's ahead of you. But you can't do that because they're going to have to eventually experience life on their own.
Correct.
How do you eventually know what binds us, you think, as a community that you think could ultimately help us to discover ourselves sooner? Or where are we falling short?
I think it takes, first of all, it's never too late. I was 33 when I did it. I wasn't exactly in my 20s, energetic and ready to go. I had a lot tying me down. There was a home to actually pack up. There was a car to sell. There was my parents to talk to let them know that I'm making this move. And there were lots of, raised eyebrows. Turkey, is there something wrong with you? Like, what's wrong with Dubai? Or what's wrong with the rest of Europe, which is what everybody else does. But I think what we need to realize, Salma, is that if it's something that we feel within, if our gut, if our core, if our intuition is telling us that we need to do this, then we need to do it. We need to trust that. Because here's the thing about trusting your intuition. It doesn't come poof from out of nowhere. Allah has sent us into the world with that built into our beings, right? What we're not doing is we're not trusting what Allah has gifted us with in the first place. And when we miss that message, then we miss those opportunities. So it's not about the community, and it's not about anybody pointing it out to you that, look, what is your gut telling you? What do you want to do? It's about you listening, looking at what's best for you at this point in time and acting upon it within reason, of course. We are Muslim. We've got to do and go to places that suit us, that are suitable for us, that are still halal enough for us to function in, but still give ourselves what we need from society at that point in time. And Turkey is this place where masjid is all about community, for example. Women go to the masjid, but there's also community stuff happening there. There's children playing about. There's feeding schemes happening. There's women who do home industry around. There's so much to learn from everywhere. Can you learn that here? Of course. Durban especially is a hub of it. Women are teaching us those lessons all the time. Not everybody has to pack their bags and do what I did. But sometimes when you're doing it with people who don't know you, you're not asking yourselves, I wonder what that person is thinking about me. You're just doing it. You're enjoying it. You're harvesting olives because it's fun. You're playing with children because it's fun. You're learning a new language without inhibition because it's fun. You're harvesting pears and peaches and all of that on farms and delivering cucumbers to a kitchen because it's fun. Nobody's watching you, nobody knows you, and that's what it's all about. A lot of people have made the move before, but have not been able to easily transition into society because they're expecting another South Africa wherever they go.
Yeah.
It requires complete abandonment of what you are used to, unlearning what you already know, and being prepared to learn something new. And that's what it's all about, and that's how you grow, and that's how you have new experiences, and that's food for a book. Because how else are you going to describe it? How else are you going to get people to taste it? How else are you going to get people to smell it, to feel it? In your book, through your writing.
You're incredible to listen to. You really are. You've got this way of talking that I'm almost like imagining myself in Turkey right now. But I have to ask you before we get into the actual story in Tukburni so did you find your Utigirl there as well now? Was there like how did love come into play? And what do you think women actually need? How much of love do we need? What type of love do we need?
We need, first of all, we need halal love.
100%.
Right? Ertugrul, my Ertugrul was American who had Kuwaiti roots.
Okay.
And it didn't happen in Turkey. Here I was, this online presence. I had profiles for being an editor, a writer, and he happened to be looking for someone to do that for him. And that was how we met. He happened to like who I was, and he left everything and came to Turkey, married me in Turkey, and that's where we lived. So my story is completely different. I know everybody has a good laugh. You went all the way to Turkey. You lived for 10 years only to marry an American. Yeah, that's what happens. Because my intention was different. I didn't go to look for love now, did I? I wasn't seeking romance now, was I? I was just enjoying my life, doing what I did, teaching at school, having new experiences, and when Allah wills, He finds it for you, not the other way around.
And is that what this book is based on, your personal story?
A lot of it I've taken from my personal story, but as you know, when we are writers, fiction writers, we have a way of fictionalizing what truly happened. So yes, without a doubt, it's our story.
Incredible. Intrigued. I see you're not giving too much away as well. Definitely want people to be reading more about it and actually touching onto Bury Me Softly. Why Bury Me Softly?
Because that's what I did. I had to bury him. He passed away on a Thursday night in a masjid in Bursa. My family wasn't with me. Just his friends and my friends, my immediate neighbors. And when he passed away, it was the quietest, most dignified burial you could ever have, because the both of us, strangers in a country, he was gone and I had to bury him. So I named the book Bury Me Softly.
That's incredible. That's incredible in a different sense. Not that he passed away, obviously, but it's amazing how it would take you, this journey, to go from South Africa to Turkey, to meet somebody who you then thought, wow, this is incredible, this is it.
Yes.
Then to lose him. Why come back here? Why come back to South Africa, and what do you hope to achieve now?
It's not a a decision I made as per se that I need to go back home. Turkey is going through a lot of changes in terms of its laws for foreigners and who it's willing to accept and who it will sustain in the country. And unfortunately, when I lost him, a lot changed, and they just decided that it would be better if they actually, asked me to go back home and explore other avenues of coming back into the country if I wanted to. But for the moment, this was the decision that they made. It's an annual renewal of residence, issue, and eventually, when you are not a part of a couple anymore, and the other person is not there to support you, and there's no security, so to speak, then any country is going to ask you to leave if they're not happy with it.
Absolutely. But also life takes you, and this is such an amazing analogy to the show, along the path, because it took you in that particular direction. So to anybody listening to you now and watching this and thinking to themselves, maybe they have their own story, they're wondering who they perhaps going to meet at some point. You meet so many amazing people that are questioning their fate and questioning when are they going to perhaps finally experience love, or finally get to experience peace or joy, or like you mentioned, you referred to the cucumbers and the olives so many times. I can only imagine what sense of fulfillment that would give you. It's the same feeling I get when I go to a farm cottage, or it's the way my kids are with horses or animals. But there's something that will ultimately give you that peace and fulfillment, be it your garden, be it your hobby, your craft.
Yes.
What would your advice be to those people that are genuinely seeking that empty space and want to fill it up so desperately?
Dua is the most powerful thing. And I truly believe this. Nia is another important thing. When I went off to Turkey, dua and Nia were at the cornerstone of that decision. When I was in Turkey and life eventually, as you get older, it does become lonely. You are seeking more over and above what you're already blessed with. And even if you read in the book, I made a dua and I said, Ya Rab, give me at least 1/10 of what the Prophet ﷺ was. And give me someone who will accept me for me and love me for me. So dua is not something that you make today and then tomorrow you expect an answer. Allah gives it to you when the time is right, in a way that is right and you least expect, more than you expect. You just got to keep the faith that this thing is around the corner and it's coming your way. And so to answer that question also, where to from now, where to after this, and what are my plans? I don't have any. I'm still in my dua and niyyah phase, and I'm just living in the hope that somehow, some way, around the corner, something is there that I am going to experience, because Allah is going to give that to me. And that's not necessarily marriage again. That could be anything.
A whole new chapter.
A whole new chapter with me doing other things other than breaking olives and harvesting cucumbers. I don't know what that is yet, but you've got to hold this feeling inside of you that Allah took away from you to give you better. And we learn this in Islam constantly, don't we? But we've got to be able to put that into practice. And we've got to live with hope and faith that whatever it is coming.
Nasreen, you're incredible. I definitely need to plan some coffee dates with you, inshallah. And you'd be an incredible person to just travel with one day. But all the best to you, inshallah. I cannot wait to really dig into this book. I've just about started it, but I'm so looking forward to reading it. I want to get through that book. Definitely, inshallah. It's going to be my weekend hobby now. To go through Tukburni and bury me softly there with all the wonderful dreams and aspirations I'm sure we all do have at some point.